Good planning does not box visionaries in. Instead, what it does is frees up mental space. Welcome back to the Quiet Leaders Podcast. I am excited for this episode today because this episode is for two people. It's for the visionary who's listening and thinking, I love my business, but lately it feels a little heavier than it should. And it's also for the integrator, operator, or behind the scenes leader listening who supports those visionaries and wants language for what's really happening underneath the surface. Here's what I know to be true. Now, most visionaries don't struggle because they lack ideas. They struggle because they're often carrying too much. And most integrators don't struggle because they aren't skilled. They struggle because they're really trying to articulate the kind of support that's really hard to name. So today I want to talk about that in-between space, the space between vision and execution, between ideas and follow-through, between knowing what you want and actually building it. So if you're a visionary, see if any of this feels familiar to you. You're often holding the future of your business, the direction, the ideas, the offers, the people, the decisions. You're not just doing tasks, you're holding the context. And what happens over time is this quiet accumulation of decisions that you haven't made yet, ideas you don't want to lose, systems that only exist in your head, plans that feel half-informed, and things you know you should simplify, but you don't know where to start. Now, from the outside looking in, it might look like you're doing a great job, you're incredibly capable, or that you've built something amazing. But internally, it can feel like I'm tired of being the only one who sees the whole picture. I just want things to feel clearer. I want to move forward without pushing so hard. Now, this is not a motivation issue. It's not a discipline issue. This is a support gap. And this is where a lot of visionaries go wrong and where a lot of advice often misses the mark. When things feel heavy or stuck, the natural instinct is to buy another course, add another strategy, tweak your offer again, post more content, or do something. But most of the time, visionaries don't need more. They need clarity, reflection, prioritization, and someone to help them decide what not to do. And this is where the integrator lens becomes so powerful. And if you're an integrator listening, this is important. Your value is not in having the answers. Your value is in helping visionaries filter. And there's a specific kind of support that helps visionaries move again. And it sounds like this doesn't need to happen all at once. That is actually the bottleneck. This is what's creating results. And what's the simplest next step? That's the integrator lens. And when visionaries don't have access to that lens, they often overcomplicate, delay decisions, get stuck in the planning, or move between urgency and avoidance. But when they do have access to it, things calm down, decisions get cleaner, momentum returns. And not because they're doing more, but because they're finally doing the right things. Now, I want to share a lesson that I've learned from my own work. For the last year, I ran a program called Momentum. Now, this started as a membership for visionaries, and the idea was it's this light touch, ongoing support that essentially allowed you to have an integrator in your back pocket with some templates. But over time, it actually became more of a mastermind, and eventually it naturally shifted into much deeper, more personal support. And here's what really surprised me. The biggest breakthroughs did not come from more content I was providing. They didn't come from frameworks. They didn't come from being in a group dynamic. Instead, they came from consistency, context, relationship, and accountability over time. Now, one of the people who stayed in this container for the full year grew her business by 60%. And not because we rebuilt everything, but because we kept asking the same grounded questions. What's actually working? What's currently draining you? What matters right now? And what can wait? That taught me something important. That visionaries don't need more of things, they don't need more access. What they really need is that consistency. And as integrators, this is huge. Your magic is often what you notice over time. Now, I want to walk through some actual conversations that happened inside the Momentum program because this, again, is where the magic happens. So, one, accountability without pressure. Every time we had a check-in, we started it the same way. We went over wins since the last time we met, challenges that everyone is currently facing, and then goals for the next meeting. That rhythm alone changes everything. This builds evidence, it creates clarity, and it removes the vague feeling of I'm behind. The second one is planning without perfection. A big fear for visionaries is that they think if they make a plan, they're going to feel trapped by it. So instead, we reframe planning as direction, not restriction. And one thing I say all the time is that you don't need the perfect plan. Instead, you need a plan that you're actually going to use. And we simplify planning until it feels realistic, aligned, doable. We don't over-engineer, we don't overthink. The plans are never about control. They're really about relief. And now, integrators, this is important because good planning does not box visionaries in. Instead, what it does is frees up mental space. Number 3 is you don't need the how yet. Now, this came up quite often because the visionaries, they jump straight to the platforms, the tools, the processes, the logistics, like, okay, I need A, B, and C so that I can launch this new offer. And what I often say is before we go into starting the process to launch something, we need to decide if the idea lights you up and if it makes sense to do it now. And as you know, visionaries, they have tons of new ideas all the time. So it's really important to get that clarity on if this is A, the right offer, and B, if it makes sense right now. And often I also tell people that go out, talk to your audience, find the people who would fit this container. And once you do that, that will give you the clarity you need to decide when to do it and how to do it. So that clarity comes first, and then the execution comes second. And the Momentum program really helped us separate these two things. Number 4, visibility through clarity. A lot of visionaries also struggle with visibility, not because they don't know what to say, but because they're trying to say everything. And inside the program, we simplified what you do, who you help, what problem you solve, and what you want people to do next. So visibility became, I know what I'm building, I know who I'm speaking to, and I know what I want them to do next. And this was important. We were always thinking about the full customer journey. And this clarity really reduces that resistance to keep going forward. Number 5, pricing, growth, and nervous system leadership. We talked about raising prices, holding higher level clients, stepping into bigger rooms. And I said this and I'll say it again here. You're supposed to feel some discomfort when you grow. Growth is uncomfortable. Raising prices can feel uncomfortable, and being seen is uncomfortable. But momentum is where we normalize that discomfort and we help you lead yourself through it instead of avoiding it. Number 6, boundaries for visionaries who care. So many of the visionaries that I work with truly care deeply about their clients. And because of that, they often overgive, overextend, and delay their own boundaries. So this is something that we had to normalize quite often to protect energy, redefine scope, letting go of resentment, because you can't build something sustainable from depletion. In integrators, this is the language that your clients desperately need. You can love your clients and still have boundaries. You can be generous without overgiving. You can grow without resentment. It's about building a business that works without self-sacrifice. Now, finally, number 7, the 20% that moves the needle. Now, every conversation that I have really comes back to this one question. What is the 20% that actually matters right now? Not later, not someday, right now. This is how momentum is created. Fewer priorities, cleaner decisions, less noise, more follow through. And this is why momentum worked. This is why one of the people in the program saw 60% growth in her business. And this is why it evolved. Now, if you're an integrator listening to this, I want to name something for you as well. This is the work. It's not just systems, it's not just execution, it's not just task management. It's holding space for clarity, helping visionaries slow down enough to decide, translating the vision into priorities, protecting energy, reducing that cognitive load. And when you can speak to this, not just what you do, but what you create, your marketing gets clearer, your confidence grows, and the right visionaries recognize themselves in your work. So if you're a visionary listening and this episode felt like it was describing the current season that you're in, I want you to hear this. I am currently enrolling visionaries for the next round of momentum. Now, as I mentioned, this initially started as a membership and it is now evolved into a one-on-one support coaching offer. So I'm inviting those of you who are interested into having a conversation to see if this is the kind of support that you've been missing, if you're needing that clarity, accountability, and someone helping you stay focused on what actually matters. Or like I say, needing that integrator lens on your business, the next step is to get on a call with me, which will walk you through what momentum looks like now, the structure, expectations, next steps, and we'll really figure out if this is the right kind of support for you in this season. I will not recommend this if it doesn't make sense, but I also could refer you to what you are needing. That is one of my favorite things to do, is to figure out, what do you actually need right now? What's that 20%? Is that me helping you? Is that someone else coming in for that 20%? That is something that we will explore. So you can either send me a DM with the word momentum, or you can use the link in the show notes to directly book a call with me. Now, visionaries, they don't need more information. They don't need more pressure to do things. They need better support. As I mentioned, we have this support gap going on. And integrators, you don't need louder marketing. You need that clear language. You need to not talk about all the deliverables that you provide. You need to bring forward that feeling, that calm, that clarity that you bring to a visionary's business. So if this episode gave you words for something that you've been feeling, I am really glad you are here. All right. Well, that wraps up episode 12. I will see you in the next one.